we didn't know what dyslexia was, when I was growing up. It was, I had difficulties reading from early on. I had a hard time focusing. My mother would try to help me with homework, and it'd be frustrating. And I was horrible with math and reading skills. I was very skillful in everything, in sports and life and charm. I could charm anybody.
I also knew about his dyslexia and what he had gone through as a child, and without people understanding it, his parents didn't understand it, the teachers didn't understand it, they just thought he was lazy, and it just hurt me to the core to see that he had gone through this, because as an educator myself, and having the knowledge now that they didn't have back then, it just showed me how a little child can be so affected by what teachers say. He had one teacher in 8th grade tell him he would never amount to anything, and it stuck with him for years, and he wanted to prove to that teacher that he could be something, and I think that was always in the back of his mind. Unfortunately, one teacher could do that to someone.
I was a good athlete. I played baseball and basketball and sports, and so then I got, started playing semi-pro baseball right out of high school. So rather than going to college and playing in college, because I didn't know if I had the confidence to go through college at the time. In 1967, I got drafted in the Army. There was a war in Vietnam was escalating, and and I was a big guy, and I was competitive and athletic. So right from the start, they started putting me in charge positions like squad leader, platoon leader in the training camps. So after completing all of those, I was an airborne ranger sniper, and there was one place to go, and that was Vietnam. When I got there, I was with the regular infantry specialized unit, and then serving. And then I had a wound injury, and I was in the hospital, and I met a colonel that was forming the 75th Rangers. He formed it was a long-range reconnaissance patrol, which is called Special Operations, the LRPs. So we formed a unit of there was 125 men that were in country that were Ranger qualified, and we infused them into the unit. We all did training, and we did special operations like sniper patrol, rescue, recovery, like a helicopter or a gunship would go down, and we'd be the first ones out to go retrieve and try to get any survivors and pick them up. And so I did that for a year, and then we, after that whole experience, and won a few medals and Purple Heart and stuff, and came home, and all of a sudden it was over.
And I think the biggest shock of his life was coming home and having all the Vietnam veteran haters, people, the civilians hating him, and being thrown back into civilian life when he was just changed 360 degrees.
In Vietnam era, we didn't know what like PTSD was. We just, and you came out of, in my case, I came back from a war where I was carrying a gun every day, and within 5 days, I was a civilian. And at San Francisco airport, and people were calling us baby killers, and they'd throw trash at us when we walked by and stuff, which is way different than today. People took out the fear of war, and they didn't like the war. They took it out on the soldiers instead of the politicians. So that was hard to overcome, because we felt that we were, protecting our families, we were protecting the rights to live a free world. So when you get back, like I got back, and I hurt my back, and so I didn't want to have surgery, so I went to a chiropractor, and he completely fixed me, and I was doing great, and I continued to see him, and he became a very good friend. Just decided after 2 or 3 months after we were married, I told my wife, I said, I think I want to go to chiropractic school.
Port, Iowa. And he had never taken trigonometry and anatomy and all the courses that were the pre-med courses that he had to take. And being dyslexic, the books were just almost overwhelming to him. So fortunately, he got into a study group, and he's very auditory. And so he was able to overcome the dyslexia part of his brain, and he learns very well auditorily and ended up doing very, very well. And knowing the body and was part of his gift, because he could picture the body and the bones and all the parts of the body. So that did him well in chiropractic school, because he could visualize everything.
My favorite part of being a chiropractor is dealing one-on-one with patients and the contact that I have, because I try to keep it light. I don't, I'm not very serious. I'm serious about what I do, but when people are in pain and it's hurting, it's nice to be able to calm them down and have some fun with them, and they do a lot better. They feel better.
Dr. Watson, he is an amazing person to work with. He's fun, he's energetic, he's great with his patient. He's funny, but very professional.
Fun-loving, very friendly, outgoing, and he did have a time where he was affected by his PTSD, and this did change him. But he got help for that, he overcame it, and he loves being with people. He loves talking to people and being friendly. Everywhere we go, he meets new people, and he loves it. He loves people. Chris is the best father that 3 girls could have. He was always there for them. He's kind, he's gentle. Even though he can be tough, and he was in the war, and he can be a man's man, he's also extremely gentle, like a gentle giant. And he was always there for his girls, and they just love him to death.
That he loves his family a lot. He faces time with his grandkids all the time, almost every day. He comes to work, talk about what he FaceTime with his grandkids or what his grandkids are doing. So I would say outside of work, he's all about his family.
What I'm the most proud of my family are that they've all grown up into fine, productive adults, have children, have professions. They're very loving to each other and to my wife and I, and they're the light of my life. They're my best achievement.